Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on AT International, reaching you live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. I am Lami Ali. First, the headlines. As Britain sets to leave European Union, correspondent takes a look at the build-up to Brexit. President Muhammadu Buhari tasks new governor of Imo State to give premium to good governance through delivery of prompt democratic dividends. Also on the news, federal government commences mop-up of excess food items in circulation, especially grains, with a view to stabilizing prices of food items. The UK is set to leave the EU 23 hours GMT, Friday, December 31st, which is 12 midnight into Saturday Nigerian local time, ending its 47-year membership, becoming the first country to ever leave the bloc and enter a transition period scheduled to end on December 31st, 2020. After more than 3 years of political wrangling, the departure of two prime ministers and dozens of furious protests across the United Kingdom, Brexit is finally happening. Justin Bemunyi will take us through the phases that the process had witnessed on the timeline.
It all began in the interests of protecting Britain's financial sector, where David Cameron became the first UK Prime Minister to veto an EU treaty in 2011. In early 2013, he gave a much-anticipated speech in which he outlined the challenges facing Europe and promised to renegotiate membership in the EU if his Conservative Party won a majority in the country's general election. At the same time, support was growing among British voters for the UK Independence Party, UKIP, and its hardline stance against the EU. Against the backdrop of economic unrest in the Eurozone and an ongoing migrant crisis, UKIP and other supporters of a possible British exit from the EU or Brexit increased. After winning re-election in May 2015, Cameroon went to work renegotiating the UK-EU relationship, including changes in migrant welfare payments, financial safeguards, and easier ways for Britain to block EU regulations. In February 2016, he announced the results of those negotiations and set June 23rd as the date of the promised referendum. Turnout for the referendum was 71.8%, with more than 30 million people voting. The referendum passed by a slim 51.9% to 48.1% margin, but there were stark differences across the UK. Northern Ireland voted to remain in the EU, as did Scotland, where only 38% of voters chose leave, leading to renewed calls for another referendum on Scottish independence. England and Wales, however, voted in favour of Brexit.
Mr. Speaker, although leaving the EU was not the path I recommended, I am the first to praise our incredible strengths as a country. As we proceed with implementing this decision and facing the challenges that it will undoubtedly bring, I believe we should hold fast to a vision of Britain that wants to be respected abroad, tolerant at home, engaged in the world, and working with our international partners to advance the prosperity and security of our nation for generations to come. I have fought for these things every day of my political life. I will continue to do so, and I commend this statement to the House.
In October 2016, Prime Minister Theresa May, who had assumed office following David Cameron's resignation, announced her intention to invoke Article 50 of the Treaty on European Union, formally giving notice of Britain's intent to leave the EU. On March 29, 2017, the order signed by May a day earlier was delivered to the Council of the European Union, officially starting the 2-year countdown to Britain's EU departure, set for March 30, 2019. However, on March 30, 2019, Parliament rejected May's EU withdrawal agreement. The European Council set a new deadline of October 31st, 2019, or the first day of the month after that in which a withdrawal agreement is passed, and Brexit was originally scheduled for 29 March last year, but was repeatedly delayed when members of Parliament rejected a previous withdrawal agreement reached by the EU and former Prime Minister Theresa May.
Some have suggested holding a second referendum. I don't believe that's what you want, and it is not what I want. We asked you the question already, and you gave us your answer. Now, you want us to get on with it, and that is what I am determined to do.
Mr. Boris Johnson was able to get his own deal through Parliament after winning December's general election with a House of Commons majority of 80 on a pledge to get Brexit done. This brought to an end more than 3 years of political wrangling following the referendum of 2016, in which 52% of voters backed leaving the EU.
We are going to take this country forward, outwards, into the world, and Mr. Speaker, in case I forgot to mention it before, we are going to deliver on our promises and take us out of the European Union, despite everything that he and all the parties opposite tried to do this Friday.
After the UK formally leaves the EU, there is still a lot to talk about, and months of negotiation will follow. While the EU has agreed the terms of its EU departure, both sides still need to decide what their future relationship will look like. This will be worked out during the transition period, which some refer to call the implementation period, which begins immediately and is due to end on 31st December 2020.
Justin Bem-Unye there on Brexit, now joining us in the studio for a deeper perspective on the Britain leaving the European Union is Dr. Adoyi Omale, a lecturer at the Department of International Relations and Diplomacy, Bayes University, Abuja. Now, thanks for making it to our studios.
Thank you very much.
Now, UK under Boris Johnson has finally agreed to quit from the European Union. What does this portend for the EU?
It's a very significant milestone in international relations. Don't forget that when the EU was formed in the early 70s, it was a good innovation at regional integration. Now this integration that has happened has led Africa and other parts of the world to learn a lot from this integration of the European Union. Now with Britain withdrawing from the European Union, it speaks a volume about what integration, regional integration, the failure of regional integration. The reasons why they want to go out are basically because they feel that they want to control their own economy, they want to control immigration, they want to control trade through their own terms. And that is why they are withdrawing. This brings to question the issue of regional integration bodies. How have they been able to survive over the years? So in my own thinking, it will have a lot of impact on the European Union, because now for those who are already in Britain and those who have been benefiting from movement across Europe, they will just find themselves suddenly, they have to, the immigration will not be, movement of persons will not be easy again within the European Union. And also trade, they have to now pay tariff on at the terms the British or the UK are going to give to most of the European countries. So definitely it will have an impact on the European Union.
Now, you talked about UK wanting to have complete control of its economy. Brexit led to the resignation of the immediate Prime Minister, Theresa May, and in the next few hours, UK will be exiting. Now, of what impact will this be on the general economy of Great Britain?
Well, it will have definitely it will have an impact on the economy of Britain and also the direction on other European countries. The impact will be in the area of maybe the favorable trade relationship they have had across Europe. It will now be that they will have to contend with trying to promote British-owned goods and services at the term within the international community. Don't forget that Britain is also looking at opportunity towards Africa. And it is not only Britain that is moving towards Africa. China is moving towards Africa. Russia is moving towards Africa. Many countries of the world are trying to now move into Africa. So recently, Boris Johnson convened the UK-African Summit. This is to to also facilitate, to open new frontiers for Britain to now get other markets within the world. So what the British are trying to do is to open up their economy instead of tying it under the European Union. And because they are trying to diversify, they are trying to break new grounds within the international system, the EU has been limiting them, and so they are trying to open up. So it will be in the interest of the British economy, especially to exploit new frontiers like Africa, Asia, and other parts of the world.
Now, events have shown that many of the world's great economies, not just the UK, are turning towards Africa as a destination for business. Now, what will Africa as a continent benefit from these new arrangements when it comes to finally materialize?
Africa has a lot to benefit because attention will now be on Africa. Don't forget that there are a lot of opportunities in Africa. Africa is a virgin continent waiting to be exploited. Africa has a lot of potentials and opportunities. Look at the telecommunications sector. If the British come and invest in the telecommunications sector in Africa, they will make a lot of gains. Look at other sectors, infrastructure. Look at other trade, in terms of trade. The trade between the UK and Africa has been on a downward slide. From about $4.2 billion, it has been going down to about $2-something billion. And with this Brexit now, the UK will now focus attention on other parts of the world where it will now have comparative advantage in terms of trade.
Now, what's your take on UK-Nigeria relationship after Brexit?
Well, UK-Nigeria relationship, as you know, they are our colonial masters. We have had very, very good relationship. But I think after Brexit, with Britain coming to Africa, Nigeria would definitely take a leading role. Because, of course, you know, Nigeria is one of the largest economy in Africa. And with the recent African-UK summit, Nigeria will play a decisive role in furthering British interests within the African continent.
Thank you very much for your contributions. That was Dr. Adoyomale, a lecturer with the Department of International Relations and Diplomacy, Bayes University. He was talking on Brexit. Now, moving on to other news. President Muhammadu Buhari has poured encomiums on his Ivorian counterpart, Alassane Ouattara, for leading an inclusive administration and stabilizing the West African nation. This was while granting audience to the outgoing ambassador of Côte d'Ivoire to Nigeria, Tuore Kone Maman. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the details.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who applauded President Ouattara for the way and manner he has been managing Côte d'Ivoire, said his inclusivity, generosity of mind and patriotism are paying off. The Ivorian leader, he also said, has been genuinely supporting Nigeria whenever the need arises and therefore wished him the best of luck in the forthcoming elections this year. President Buhari equally commended the outgoing ambassador for her hard work and landmark achievements during her tour of duty in Nigeria. He said it is noteworthy that during her tenure, the Chancery building in Abuja was completed. The Nigeria-Côte d'Ivoire Binational Commission established saw also viable linkages between banks, businesses and agencies of the two governments now working hand in hand. The outgoing Ivorian ambassador, Tuore Kone Maman, described her tour of duty in Nigeria, spanning 7 years, as gainful and very fulfilling. Ambassador Maman said, apart from her tremendous achievements diplomatically, she had also acquired a doctoral degree during her stay in Nigeria, telling President Buhari that she has now become a Nigerian. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari is tasking the new governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma, to right the wrongs in governance and take the Eastern Heartland to the next level of development. The president stated this while receiving in audience the APC governor whose mandate was restored recently by the nation's apex court. State House correspondent Adam Sambu again brings us the details.
Congratulations, Your Excellency.
It was the first formal engagement between President Muhammadu Buhari and the new Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma since the restoration of his mandate by the Supreme Court on the 14th of January this year. Discussions at the meeting, also attended by the APC National Chairman Adams Oshomole, centered on the task ahead in the governance of the state. President Buhari applauded the governor for starting well, saying, however, that the Eastern Heartland must be restored to its past glory and taken further to greater heights in line with the next level agenda of the governing APC.
I certainly wish you the best of luck. It has been very tough. We have been very competent, and please God has given you success.
Thank you for providing the enabling environment and that has enabled justice at the end of the day to prevail. And also to assure you that I understand the policies of this government and what you stand for, consistent to the manifesto of the party, to give our people good governance and by extension the dividends of democracy. I will do my best, God's willing, not to disappoint the expectations of my people.
Addressing newsmen shortly after, Governor Uzodimma was emphatic that he fully understood not only the huge public expectations but also the challenges confronting the state, saying, however, that he will not abdicate his responsibilities.
My mandate is about the people. My government will just be about the people. And by the grace of God, I will not disappoint their expectations. And I'm sure they will see good governance from a man with experience, working in consultation with the political stakeholders in the state. I think we can do it differently, and the narrative will be acceptable to the people. We are going to stimulate the economy and bring life back to our people. That will bring prosperity to the state.
And of course, President Buhari is very excited. We have re-established our foothold in the heart of the Southeast, and it coincides with the President's vision of uniting the country. And now we can truly say that we not only control the center, we have governors in each of the 6 geopolitical zones. And that, I believe, is good for our party. I also believe is good for the government.
The new APC government in Imo State takes pride that in just 17 days, stability has been restored in the governance of the state and concrete steps taken towards breaking the jinx of developmental stagnation for genuine prosperity. Governor Uzodimma said 25 out of the 27 members of the State Assembly have already defected to the governing APC, which had none before his coming to power. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. Join us for more stories after this break.
That channel where you watch just now don't waka, no panic.
Can you no panic?
You go do it by yourself like ABC. Oh yeah, press the menu button on top your remote. Scroll up and down till you see Information Central. Then press OK.
Press OK.
Check the signal strength and quality. If the signal strength and quality pass 70, make you press the exit button, go back. Go advanced options, then choose installation, then go to reset and press OK.
Yeah, press OK.
Wow, now you self fit catch all those channels will be one miss road by yourself. Yes, make your group for no loss. You see as I do am, Abi?
And I see as I do am.
Go TV, live it, love it.
And I see as
Welcome back. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has opened talks with his counterpart in the United Kingdom in an effort to fast-track the return of Nigeria's Ife bronze stolen from the Jos National Museum over 30 years ago. Anthony Forson has the story.
The minister, whose visit to the United Kingdom was tied to media engagements, took time out of his tight schedule to visit the United Kingdom's Under-Secretary of State for Culture, Heritage and Tourism, where he presented Nigeria's case. Lai Mohammed, after the closed-door meeting, spoke on the outcome of his meeting, beginning with the brick wall being put up by the Belgian in whose possession the artifact was found while attempting to dispose it.
The object was put on the red list, which means it cannot be traded, it cannot be exchanged, it cannot be bought. So when these items surfaced in the UK, the auction house promptly notified the UK Metropolitan Police, who notified the UNESCO, and we were, notified through our UNESCO permanent representative. And since then, we've been pursuing the return of this artifact to Nigeria.
He, however, said the Belgian government on its part isn't making the process easy for Nigeria.
Regrettably, the Belgian authority claimed that they were not a party to the UNESCO convention at the time this item was bought by a Belgian. And then the Belgian buyer is also hiding under the provision of being buyer in good faith and asking for compensation from us. As a matter of fact, he's asking for €5 million for an object that he purchased for €240. Our position is that he's not a buyer in good faith, because he's not just an ordinary buyer, he's a collector.
Expressing satisfaction with the meeting, the minister said any form of litigation has been ruled out.
This is not necessarily a matter that should go to court. It's a matter that can be resolved, working within the provisions of the UNESCO 1970 Convention.
For now, Lai Mohammed said, with the cooperation extended to Nigeria by the United Kingdom Metropolitan Police since the matter came up, Nigeria will rely on UK in line with UNESCO's convention as a signatory to return the object to Nigeria under Article 7 of UNESCO Convention, which stipulates that any such objects found in any country which is a member of the convention, diplomatic channels shall be explored to return such objects to the country of source. In London, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
We now turn to health matters. Following the declaration of the coronavirus as a global health emergency by World Health Organization, the Minister of Health, Osage Ehanire, has appealed to Nigerians to avoid panic and spread of fake news, as the federal government has put in place all necessary precautionary measures to prevent the spread of the virus to Nigeria. Correspondent Obiageli Ugoke reports.
Number of deaths recorded as a result of coronavirus, which has continued to rise. The Minister of Health, Osage Emmanuel Ehanire, says personal protection equipment has been distributed with so many other measures introduced to ensure all Nigerians are protected. He, however, warned against panic and spread of fake news. The minister disclosed this after the World Health Organization designated the outbreak of coronavirus a global public health emergency Friday in an attempt to get more resources and increase international coordination to fight it.
We have thermal cameras there that will take temperature of every person coming in. We have a very strict and firm observation of travelers who are entering our country, so that if anyone looks unwell, they are invited and interviewed. We take their travel history, where they have been to, and if need be, we'll put them under watch or under observation or self-isolation for up to 2 weeks. And finally, anyone who has any symptoms that they don't understand, to report to the nearest health facility. Symptoms like cough, catarrh, a headache, feeling of unwellness, dizziness that lasts beyond a normal period.
As of 31st January 2020, the flu-like virus had killed at least 213 people, all of them in China, with almost 9,900 people infected. The minister again warned Nigerians to suspend any intending journey to China, except it's very essential. The virus has spread from the city of Wuhan across China to more than 15 countries. Obiageli Ugoke, NTA News.
And Vice President Yemi Osinbajo this Friday speaks on the economic dimension of national security, the Nigerian experience. Addressing participants of the Nigerian Defense College Course 28 in Abuja, the Vice President says it is of utmost importance for government at all levels to support the needy and the vulnerables, as this will galvanize expected results and efforts to grow the economy and lift the people out of poverty. State House correspondent Judy Unifade reports.
Governments all over the world, as Vice President Yemi Osinbajo notes, now focus on the needs of the people as a form of security, as against the old belief that national security is the protection of the people from external and internal aggression only.
The sole objective of man is to live. To live, he needs food, shelter, and clothing. To do so, he must have the means to earn enough. Where the means are unavailable, his natural instinct is to survive. And of course, that brings about desperation and alienation from society, which makes him potentially a risk to the community.
Latest actions of the Nigerian government in providing decent living for the people, the Vice President explains, is the focus on the private sector towards addressing the challenge of unemployment. Government, he stresses, must provide infrastructure and enabling environment for the private sector, as the Buhari administration is presently doing.
The main policy challenge which we have will be to shape our national security calculus, both now and in the future, to that of creating social and economic opportunity on a scale that not only matches our population growth rate, but also the aspirations of our people, especially the young people. Improving human capital development, especially education, and providing more opportunities for earning a living will reduce the number of young persons available for recruitment into the ranks of Boko Haram and ISWAP and terrorists of that nature.
And as the Vice President says, man is central to the development of the nation, pointing out how young men and women are being supported by government, and the result of which he says is the incredible performance by them, and are now occupying space which was long left unoccupied. Course 28 was inaugurated on the 23rd of September 2019. From the National Defense College in Abuja, Jude Onifade, Enter News.
And the federal government has commenced the map-up of excess food items in circulation, especially grains, with a view to stabilizing the price of food items. The food items are being stored in the federal government strategic grain reserves in the country. Musa Baba Aliu reports that the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Muhammadu Sabu Nanunu, was in Gusau, Zamfara State to inspect the exercise.
9.4 billion naira project set aside by the federal government to stock the country's silos with assorted food in case of an emergency. This is based on the United Nations recommendation that countries should keep substantial amounts of what will last for at least 3 days in case of an emergency. The food items are to be kept in 6 of the 33 silos, which have the capacity to store more than 1 million tons of grains. This grain reserve located in Gusau is 100,000 metric tons capacity, and it has already been stocked with 23,000 tons of maize and sorghum.
We've been able to mop up almost 54,000 metric tons. We have them here in Zamfara, we have in Lafia, and we have in Mina.
Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Muhammadu Sabu Nanunu, described the initiative as a move to ensure Nigeria is more food secured.
This year, from all indications, we have a bumper harvest, and we are going to study the situation, and if it warrants us intervening again, we will, in order to stabilize the prices at the farm gate as well as in the market.
It is the hope of the federal government that buying of excess grains from farmers will go a long way in boosting their income. From Gusau, Zamfara State, Musa Baba Aliu, NTA News.
And those are the stories that made the news at this time on NTA International. We thank you for watching.